Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pat's Pulpit Pregame Preview here for a very, very special Christmas edition, talking about the Week 16 of the NFL season with a special focus on the New England Patriots against the Buffalo Bills. But before we get into all of our talk about the NFL, Alec, quick question. How you doing?
Ho, 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 Rich Hill, it is Christmas Eve. I'm here in my Santa hat and my ugly Bill Belichick sweater.
That's
I
beautiful.
thank you very much. I am in a great mood. Most of us are off for the week. The holidays are here. Big slate of games today, Patriots, Bills, with the AFC potentially on the line, depending on how the games today shake out. Hopefully you've all got your holiday spirit because it's going to be a good day.
Oh, absolutely. And so this is a very, very interesting week of football right now because it's week 16. I think only 5 teams have a playoff spot clinched. You got the Patriots, you got the Steelers, and you have the Jaguars, top 3 teams in the AFC, pretty much locked into those positions. And if you look over at the NFC, you have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. Everything else is in fair play. The NFC South is a total hodgepodge of very good teams in there. You got the Saints leading the division at 10-4. The Carolina Panthers are also 10-4, and the Falcons are 9-5. They are all very much in play to make the postseason. And so there's a lot of really, really important games taking place this week. Alec, any of these games catch your attention?
Yeah, I want to start with the Colts-Ravens because that's an important game for playoff seeding, and Patriots don't want to see the Ravens in the postseason, or at least I don't. However, before I get to that game, Rich, I have to ask a completely irrelevant game from a playoff perspective, a Patriots perspective. The Cleveland Browns are at the Chicago Bears today at 1 p.m. They play the Steelers next week. This might be their last chance for a win this year. Do you think the Browns go 0-16 and join the 2008 Lions as the worst team of all time?
It's very possible, and I think going 0-16 should put the nail in the coffin for Hugh Jackson as their head coach. It's just has to take place. This is a Browns team that has been flirting with being 0-16 for the past 20 years. It's about time that they finally just take the plunge and do it. But as you said, this is their last chance to get a win because the Pittsburgh Steelers will need to keep on winning to keep a home field advantage dream alive, as well as to keep that first round bye alive, because they lost both of their tiebreakers to the Patriots and the Jaguars. And so with the Steelers playing the Browns in the final week, Pittsburgh is going to have to play for everything. And so when it comes down to it, Browns 0-14, Bears 4-10. It's going to be in Chicago. I still don't think that the Browns are going to win. I think that they go 0-16 this year.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they lose tonight or today because then they'll basically be playing for something next week against Pittsburgh. This will be their last chance to go 1-15, which is a horrible thing to be rooting for. But if you want the Browns to go hard, next week's the week for it. So hopefully the Browns lose this one and then beat the Steelers for the little New Year's Eve miracle. That'd be really sweet. But that's not relevant to the Patriots. Colts are going to the Ravens today. The Colts are out of playoff contention. The Ravens still very much alive. They're battling for that 5 or 6 seed. The wild card race is a madhouse right now. Do you think the Colts have any chance of upsetting the Ravens in Baltimore?
Not one bit, but based off of this year, that means that everything could happen. Jacoby Brissett has been their starting quarterback for this whole entire year. He's been doing okay. He's been up and down. He's been pretty average, but you look across the rest of this Indianapolis roster, I don't think that they have the pieces in place to contend with the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco is not a great quarterback, but he gets the job done, especially when they have such an amazing defense playing opposite of them. I believe they have 3 shutouts this year, so they're very much capable of stopping a lot of teams, especially a team like Indianapolis that doesn't have a lot of offensive weaponry. And so the Ravens, they're not going to make a lot of noise in the postseason, fingers crossed, but I do think that they're able to do enough against the Colts and inch their way a little bit closer to winning a wild card spot.
Yeah, sadly, I agree with you. I don't think the Ravens are going to be a very hard Colts are going to be a very hard beat at home. Baltimore's got a lot to play for. All the Colts really playing for is a Patriots backup doing his thing. Unfortunately, he's not the Patriots backup that's going to help us out this week. However, there's another Patriots backup who's making a little bit more noise in the NFL, playing the Jaguars in a huge game for Jacksonville. They have to keep winning to maybe get a chance at a potential bye. A lot of things have to happen for them to get that, but you never know. Garoppolo has yet to lose a game as a starter in the National Football League. He is just lighting the world on fire, apparently. He's as good looking as ever. What's going on with Jimmy G? And do you think that's the 49ers, I guess, upset? Is that a word? Are they going to upset the Jaguars today?
Well, there's a lot at play right now. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're 10-4. As you said, they really do need to win in order to keep their hopes of a first round bye in play, because a Jaguars loss and a Patriots win ensures that Jacksonville will not be able to pass the Patriots in the standings. And so therefore New England will get a first round bye. Same thing kind of works for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because there just wouldn't be enough time in week 6 or week 17 for the Jaguars to make it up. So Jacksonville needs to win in order to at least have a hope of a first round bye in week 17. A Jaguars loss pretty much seals the deal for them being that number 3 seed. And then you got the 49ers. They're on a 3-game winning streak. As you said, Jimmy Garoppolo 5-0 as a starter in the NFL. I don't know. Did you get to watch the Jimmy Garoppolo mic'd up video from the San Francisco 49ers this past week when they came from behind to beat the Tennessee Titans? Because I was watching it and I was witnessing a clone of Tom Brady down to the let's go screams as he was coming out of the tunnel, to how cool and calm and collected he was on the sideline with all of his new teammates, and the fact that everyone just respected and listened to him. And he just had such command and control of that offense, despite only being there for 6-7 weeks so far. I think we're witnessing the start of the next great quarterback in the NFC.
You know, I love it. I love it. It's funny. You close your eyes and you watch that video, and it's Tom Brady yelling there. It makes sense. He came up under Tom Brady, learned under the greatest quarterback of all time. But for him to move all the way across the country to inherit an offense that basically has no talent, that had more or less mailed it in on the season and ready to look towards 2018. And what he's been able to do with this team is remarkable. I'll be very curious to see. I'm not sitting here inducting into the Hall of Fame just yet, because he asked me to play a full season and get a full command of the offense. But I'll be curious to see how they look back on the second-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo in 2017 in terms of one of the greatest trades/steals of all time. Because right now you've got Tom Brady as the greatest draft pick of all time with 199. This could go down as one of the best draft trades the Niners have ever made. And I'm rooting for him so hard, and I would love to see Garoppolo succeed in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're destined to see Jimmy Garoppolo versus Tom Brady facing off in Super Bowl 53. That's going to take place. It's going to happen. Tom Brady's going to win and go off into the sunset, and Garoppolo's going to win the next 16 Super Bowls. It's going to happen.
I like it.
Believe it. Believe it to be true, because right now, good for Garoppolo. So happy to see him succeeding. But as you said, how did the 49ers get away with acquiring a guy like Garoppolo for a mere second-round pick? I know it was going to be an early second-rounder at that time. Right now, it's getting closer to a mid-rounder just because they keep on winning. Who knows? If the 49ers finish 6-10, I don't know if Nick Caserio and Bill Belichick are going to be doing a couple of face palms, because they probably could have gotten a little bit more juice out of that trade, maybe a second and a third. Or in my opinion, if I were doing that deal, I'd be like, all right, give me this second-round pick, and if Jimmy Garoppolo, if he wins 10 games over the next 2 years or something like that, you give us an additional second-round pick. I think that's something that should have been in play, should have had a few more conditions based off of how he would succeed. I think the 49ers would have been okay with that too, because if they finally have a franchise quarterback, who cares if you have to give up an extra third or second-round pick in a couple of years down the road? If you got your guy, you're a contender. And so San Francisco has to be happy. I'm happy for Jimmy Garoppolo. He seems to be really loving all of his new teammates, and I'm just looking forward to a lot more of those mic'd up videos of Garoppolo moving that forward.
Yeah, no, so am I. Again, I think the people are going to crucify the Patriots for this, because that's what they do. Anytime anything goes remotely not in New England's favor, it's some kind of arrogant or stupidity by Belichick. But basically, it was a half-season rental. You didn't know what you were getting with Garoppolo. It looks like the Niners are doing great right now. But again, it's been 5 games he's played. Let's give him some more time to adjust. I'm rooting for him, but I think the Patriots got good value considering he was definitely gone at the end of 2017 with the way Tom Brady's been playing. And hopefully, that'd be so great. A Brady versus Garoppolo Super Bowl 40, 50, whatever it is. I don't know right now. 53. That'd be such a sweet narrative, but we're looking way too far ahead, Rich. It's the Bills and the Patriots first and foremost. What do you see in this game that's different from the last time these two teams met? Can you take anything away from the last time these two teams met, or is these two completely different contests?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very different game, despite it only being 3 weeks down the road, right? You have to remember Tyrod Taylor, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, hurt his ankle/knee on the very, very first play of the game. And so he was hobbled for the first half until they finally benched and said, Nathan Peterman, you come out here and do your stuff. And so the Patriots played half the game against the Bills' backup quarterback. They also did not have Kelvin Benjamin on the outside as the X wide receiver. He's probably going to get one-on-one matchups against Stephon Gilmore. So that'll definitely be a competition to watch, especially because this is Gilmore playing against his former team. So the passing attack for Buffalo is going to be very different. And you see how many tiny things have changed on the defensive side. You have Matt Milano, who's currently playing a little bit more at linebacker for Buffalo. He's a good coverage guy. He's a little bit smaller against the run, but if you're going up against a guy like Dion Lewis, you probably want a little bit of a faster guy in the open field anyways. So they've made a few tiny adjustments on defense, as well as have returned Tyrod Taylor to the starting lineup, and they have Kelvin Benjamin. So this is a fairly different game, especially when you consider the top level players in that Bills offense that are really going to see more opportunities.
Speaking of top players in Bills offense, I think it's basically LaShawn McCoy is the top player in the Bills offense. He has been more or less the engine that's kept the entire team running in the 2017 season. If you're harking back to just a week ago, Rich, another good running back named Le'Veon Bell absolutely shredded the Patriots defense every which way. Sweeps, tosses, catches, just could not stop the man to save our lives, even without Antonio Brown. When Antonio Brown is out, they still could not stop Le'Veon Bell. Bell is a better running back than LaShawn McCoy, but not by leaps and bounds. How concerned are you about the Patriots being able to set the edge against McCoy, cover him as a pass catcher, and stop him overall?
Yeah, it's very, very concerning, especially when you see how LaShawn McCoy played against the Patriots a few weeks ago. He had 93 rushing yards on 15 carries, and he added 9 receiving yards. So that's 102 yards from scrimmage. That's a very productive day. And you see the Patriots defense right now. Last week, Bell had a lot of success because Alan Branch wasn't available on that defensive line, and Kyle Van Noy was not present for the Patriots at linebacker. Branch is not expected to play this week against the Bills, but Van Noy could be a game time decision, but he's definitely inching his way back to the lineup, and he would be a huge boost for New England. But that's a lot of pressure on Van Noy's return, because if he doesn't come back, we saw, as you said, how Bell had his way with the New England defense. And I think that the Bills have a better run blocking offensive line than the Steelers do. McCoy is very, very versatile out there. And you add Tyrod Taylor in the backfield as a mobile option. That creates a lot of confusion for New England. And so you could see some keeper opportunities for Tyrod Taylor to come around the end or hold on to the ball and not even hand it off to McCoy. So you add in that element of the backfield confusion, maybe some wildcat with Joe Webb. And if Van Noy is not able to play, I would not be shocked if LaShawn McCoy had a more productive day than Le'Veon Bell did last week.
So how do you stop that, Rich? If you are Matt Patricia, you saw what Le'Veon Bell did to your team last week. You have an equally versatile and talented running back coming to your house today. How do you alter your defensive strategy to ensure that if the Bills are going to win today, it's not because of LaShawn McCoy?
Yeah, you have to just stack the defensive line. And last week they weren't able, they weren't capable of doing that because they had to be so conscientious of the Pittsburgh Steelers passing attack. And even when they lost Le'Veon Bell, they lost Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell was still a receiver. They had Martavis Bryant and Juju Smith-Schuster and Eli Rogers. They have a lot of talent out there at receiver, and you don't have that same potent passing attack out in Buffalo. And so with Juju Smith-Schuster being able to go 100 yards every night, and he's their number 3 receiver out there, the Bills don't have that. They have Charles Clay at tight end. He has 457 receiving yards. Deontay Thompson is their only other skilled player that has more than 300 yards. So there isn't a player capable of carrying that offense. And so while the Patriots last week were not able to stack the box against Bell because they were so concerned about the passing attack, I think they can do that this week. And so we'll see Ricky Jean-Francois, Malcolm Brown, and Lawrence Guy having a pretty big role on that defensive line. We can throw Adam Butler's name into the mix. And I think that the Patriots are going to go pretty heavy on that defensive line to compensate for some potential injuries at linebacker. But most of all, they're just going to have to try and not allow the Bills to move the line of scrimmage in the run game.
Rich, one name you didn't mention as you're going through that breakdown was receiver Kelvin Benjamin, who was out the last time these two teams met with a meniscus injury. He's back now practicing on a limited basis, hasn't really contributed much due to that injury, but when he was still a Carolina Panther, he had a pretty solid day against the Patriots. Are you concerned at all about Benjamin, his skill set, his size, his ability, or is he still too hurt and banged up and not going to be a big factor today?
Yeah, so remember back in week 4 against the Carolina Panthers, Benjamin had 4 catches on 4 targets for 104 yards. That was his best day of the season, and it was against the Patriots. That was still the point, though, when New England's secondary was a mess. They didn't know what they were doing. Their communication was terrible, and so this defense has really flipped the page. They're doing a lot better now. I would not expect Benjamin to be able to replicate that success this week. And then again, you add in that lingering knee issue that has been bothering Benjamin for the past few weeks. Last week against the Dolphins, he had 2 catches for 20 yards. That's fine. I mean, I think that he'll be a little bit more involved this week as he gets further away from that injury, but I don't think he's currently able, having just joined this offense, I don't think that he's able to go out there and be that 100-yard type of guy with Tyrod Taylor, still developing that rapport, still getting over that knee injury. Maybe he'll get a few catches that'll leave you shaking your head, but I don't expect Benjamin to be a game changer for Buffalo this week.
Do you, Rich, expect the Patriots to do a better job setting the edge against LeSean McCoy or Tyrod Taylor as a runner? And if so, how are they going to do that?
Yeah, and that's why Kyle Van Noy is going to be my defensive X factor, because his availability and his readiness and his health is going to be paramount for the Patriots to have any defensive success against the Bills. You've seen how all of the injuries on the edge allowed Le'Veon Bell just to run just freely in the Patriots second level. And so Trevor Riley is not Kyle Van Noy. They don't have the same depth. Eric Lee is a great pass rusher. He doesn't have the same ability to set the edge like Kyle Van Noy is able to do. And so Van Noy offers that edge strength that you can rely on. And if Van Noy can go out there and do his thing like he'd been doing for the vast majority of the season, then I think that the Patriots will be in a good position to at least have McCoy not be able to turn the edge on that side, and he'd have to run towards Trey Flowers on the opposite side. So Kyle Van Noy's availability will just really just boost the New England defensive front seven and be a huge positive for the run defense.
That's why I'm going with actually Landon Roberts as my X factor. Not necessarily as an edge setter, because he's not great at that. He's also not a great coverage linebacker, but he is good in the spy role. He's a good spy linebacker. And the spy linebacker's job basically is to spy the quarterback, see what he's doing, especially mobile quarterbacks are prone to take off, to make sure they don't really get too much dangerous yards. He had a great blitz, a delay blitz on Tyrod Taylor last time these two teams met as a spy linebacker. I think that'll be his primary role when he's on the field. So if Landon Roberts can keep Tyrod Taylor in check, and your boy, Kyle Van Noy, can keep LeSean McCoy in check, I don't see how the Bills can move the ball beyond that. So hopefully those two things are smoothly transitioned, and let the secondary do their thing, let the big men up front stuff the run. That should be a good shape for the Patriots defense. However, that's a lot of big ifs.
Yeah, that is a lot of big ifs. And I also wouldn't be surprised if safety Jordan Richards played a little bit more this week. We saw him in that coverage role against Le'Veon Bell because the Patriots couldn't trust any of their linebackers to cover Bell out of the backfield, so they decided to use one of their heavier, strong safeties. He did a pretty good job out there. He was okay. He didn't get targeted too much by Bell, and he played a big role in getting that game-winning interception at the end of the day. So I could see Jordan Richards being a bigger contributor than some might expect. But looking at the other side of the ball, you see the Buffalo Bills team. They held the Patriots to 9 first-half points just a few weeks ago, and it was because the Patriots couldn't finish their drives. They scored 3 field goals, including a last-second field goal to close out the half. Do you see the Patriots having more offensive production this week than they did against the Bills in the past?
I'd like to think so. I think the Patriots have learned a lot in the past couple of weeks, honestly. I think through their debacle at Miami, what they were able to learn what not to do and how they played the Steelers last week. I'd like to see them run on the running game a little bit more. I'm really hoping Mike Gillislee plays today. I feel like the depth at running back with Rex Burkhead out probably for the rest of the regular season, this is definitely his time to shine. It's December. It's late in the season. This is a revenge game against his old team. He was running the ball well early in the season. He's as fresh can be. This is his game. If he plays today, he is my offensive X factor. We need the Patriots to run the ball well and control the clock. You remember, Rich, they only had 3 possessions in the first half, the Patriots. That's an obscenely low number because the Steelers were able to keep long, sustained drives on the field, and the Patriots were able to shoot the ball down fast. The Patriots against the Bills got all the way down to the red zone, but they couldn't quite finish it off. Rob Gronkowski had a monster game against the Steelers. He had a monster game against the Bills. And hopefully Chris Hogan is back as well. I think Chris Hogan's a very underrated red zone target. And I'll be curious to see if Kenny Britt has adapted the offense a little bit more. He's a big guy, a big body down there. So they have targets down in the red zone to get into the end zone. It's just a matter of that pass protection holding up and that shaky interior offensive line we talked about doing its job.
Yeah, and I feel like all the names that you mentioned. Chris Hogan will hopefully be back soon from his shoulder injury. It's looking like he should be able to contribute against the Bills, but he'll be a game time decision. Tom Brady needs to do a better job this week than he did against the Bills. That was like a little bit of a stretch, like 2-3 games where he wasn't accurate. He was feeling the pressure from the Bills. He wasn't allowing his players to get open down the field. But Rob Gronkowski, as you said, had a huge game. 9 catches, 147 yards. That was more than half of Tom Brady's passing yards on the day. So I wouldn't be shocked if Rob Gronkowski had another big day. He's 187 receiving yards away from hitting that top tier incentive of his. He has 2 weeks to get that. He also needs 16 receptions. That's another way to do it. Or best thing off ever, it could be 7 touchdowns. If he catches 7 touchdowns, that would just be golden, and he would get another one of those $2 million pay bumps. So hopefully he'll be able to reach the end zone a few times. But with Chris Hogan, with Rob Gronkowski, with, as you said, Mike Gillislee down by the goal line. I'll even throw Dion Lewis's hat into the ring. He had 92 yards on 15 carries against the Bills last time. One player that we haven't mentioned, Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks did not have the most productive day against the Bills last time. He had 17 yards on 2 catches against Buffalo. He's going to need to do a lot more, and that's why he's my offensive X factor for the Patriots. New England needs to have an outside receiver generate some production in order to open up the field in the middle for everyone else. And so last time, the Bills made the decision that they're going to double Cooks. They're going to designate a safety over the top for him. They're going to give him a cornerback, make sure that he doesn't break free. And that allowed Gronkowski to have favorable matchups in the middle. It softened it also for Dion Lewis and Rex Burkhead to run up the gut without too much worry of a safety in the box. I'll be curious to see if the Bills make that same decision because, you know, if Cooks is able to draw multiple players away, then I still consider that a win because that just leaves Gronkowski and or Chris Hogan just wide open with a one-on-one opportunity. So Cooks is my offensive X factor. He either needs to produce in his one-on-ones, which he wasn't able to do over the past couple of weeks, or he'll need to just continue to draw away the coverage and allow other players to do their job.
You know, it's funny. There's that touchdown celebration with Cooks riding Gronk like a stallion from a couple weeks ago. I think that's such an apt comparison to the Patriots offense in general, how well those two work together, that symbiotic relationship they have. Because if you focus on one, the other guy's going to have a big day and vice versa. I'd love to see that happen. You talked about Gronkowski. We talked about Brandon Cooks. We should probably address the elephant in the room right now, Rich. Rob Gronkowski, the last time he played the Buffalo Bills, made a disgusting and erroneous decision that cost him a game, potentially cost an opponent, the Bills, some damage. Luckily, he's okay. Tre'Davious White has since said he's moved on from it. It is what it is. He redacted a little bit, saying Gronk's not a dirty player. Gronk apologized. However, there's still conversations about the Bills coming to get him, coming to get Gronk, a revenge game. Everybody knows the way to tackle Gronkowski is to go low on him. Not in a dirty or malicious way, but if you try to wrap him up above the waist, you're not going to be able to take him down. So you have to go low to tackle him. Are you at all concerned about something dirty happening to Rob Gronkowski in this game?
I'm not. I think that the Bills have too much at stake right now. They need to win the next 2 games in order to reach the postseason. They can't be focused right now on getting any sort of revenge. Maybe they'll do a little bit of a nudge if they tackle him and he's on the ground. But no player on that defense can risk being suspended for the season finale or being ejected from this game because that could just sink their dreams of reaching the postseason for the first time since 1999. And I'm sure head coach Sean McDermott is aware of that. If Tre'Davious White has said that he's moved on, I believe that the Buffalo Bills defense has come together and said, you know what? It's more important that we get the win. Just forget what happened with Gronkowski. Put it in the past. It was an anomaly. He has apologized for it. It was a terrible hit, but we're not going to get any sort of retaliation from it because that would just be dumb. And so they just going to go out there. If they can win by being physical, so be it. You know, maybe they'll be jostling Gronkowski at the line of scrimmage. Maybe they'll I'll flip it a little bit and start holding him more at the line to see if he can get frustrated again. And if that's the case, that could come back and hurt the Patriots. So if anything, it won't be the Bills targeting Gronkowski. Maybe they'll try and draw out that same reaction that caused him to be suspended back in against the Dolphins.
No, it's an interesting point. And the Bills are not exactly super deep on the defense. They have good players at every level, but it's not like they have guys that can just step in below their starters if somebody gets suspended or ejected or whatnot. But you know what? The Bills have never beaten Tom Brady at Gillette Stadium. They've won twice, I believe, in Gillette, once against Jacoby Brissett and once in Week 17. The game didn't matter. This is not a game. This is not a place the Bills have had success against the Patriots. I don't think there's ever been this much stakes for the Bills this late in the season in a very long time, so that is definitely a factor. Prediction time, Rich. Last week, you and I both had the Steelers winning. Boy, are our faces red, like old St. Nicholas's. The good news is you actually predicted the Steelers winning 27-24, so if you'd only picked the Patriots, you'd have gotten spot on. Because of that, I will give you, once again, first shot. Bills, Patriots, who you got today?
So the Patriots are currently anywhere between like 11.5 and 13-point favorites. I think that is just absurd. I don't think that is kind of indicative of what these teams are right now. The Patriots are doing pretty well with Gronkowski out there. And Brandon Cooks, I mean, I believe he ranks like 10th in receiving yards on the year. So he's still producing despite the fact that it seems like it's not as consistent because it's just in bursts of 50, 60-yard gains. So when it comes down to it, though, I do think that the Patriots are going to win for every reason that we've talked about and for what you said. This is not the area. Gillette Stadium is not favorable to the Bills unless the Patriots just don't care or they're on their fourth string players at every single position. So New England is my choice to win the game. It should be something close to, 30-21.
30-21, 9-point win. Yeah, again, I think that the Patriots they've already gotten their crappy game of the year out of the way in Miami. They are back at home. I think it's very underrated how much a 5 of 6 on the road will take out of a team. You're never really feeling comfortable. You're never really quite at home where you need to be. You're not sleeping in your own bed. It's kind of a very disconcerting experience for basically 2 months of your life. They're now back at home for, hopefully, if all goes well, through at least the AFC Championship game. But before they get there, they know they have to keep winning. Pittsburgh's breathing right down their neck. Jacksonville's breathing right down their neck. The Patriots do well in these games in late December. Traditionally, I do not see them losing at home to the Buffalo Bills. I think this game's very close, but I think a couple of late scores pulls it away. I'm going Patriots 38, Bills 17.
That is a high-scoring game. All right, I would be very, very down to see that take place. And with that in mind, Alec, I want to wish you a happy holidays. Have a Merry Christmas with the family. Have fun watching the game. Everyone else who has watched this video, you too, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the football, enjoy all of the holiday season. And until next time, Alec, you have a good one.
You too, buddy.
Later.